On this edition of Bay Area Bountiful, we bring you the creations of makers. First, we'll step into the workshop of modern-day luthiers, handcrafting works of art using sustainably sourced materials. Then, we'll learn about natural fiber producers and sustainable clothing designers who work within a regional system of regenerative fiber production. It's all coming up next on Bay Area Bountiful.
Bay Area Bountiful is made possible in part by Rocky the free-range chicken and Rosie the original organic chicken. The Sonoma County Agricultural Preservation and Open Space District, Made Local Magazine, and Sonoma County Go Local. And through the generous support of Sonoma Water. Cultivate, celebrate, connect.
In an age where mass-produced, single-use disposable products are everywhere, modern-day luthiers who carve stringed instruments might seem like an anomaly. But the art of instrument making is both a link to past traditions and a bridge to a different kind of future. Carefully crafted during hundreds of hours of meticulous labor, guitars, mandolins, and violins are designed to last a lifetime or many. Local luthiers must navigate keeping their business practices sustainable while also sustaining their self-run businesses, sourcing wood and raw materials ethically, while always searching out the highest quality materials to build instruments that resonate.
So I have a tattoo here of a blueprint of one of John D'Angelico's archtop guitars. He was the godfather of archtop guitar making and made some of the best archtops in the whole entire world. So I thought it'd only be appropriate to pay homage to him. My name is Megan Wells, and I build archtop guitars and mandolins. I had been a musician my whole life, and I loved everything about the guitar. I was just completely obsessed with playing music, writing music, and I also was starting to show signs of being obsessed with woodworking. Woodworking and guitars together are the two things I love the most. It's like, who wouldn't love that? I didn't just grab a spoke shave so I could carve a neck. Like, I just got a tool that was a gift from somebody that I love very much. And he is now a part of this. And it's the same thing with a lot of my tools. I'm not just grabbing a tool to, execute a procedure. It's like these tools are, we've been through a lot together. We've done a lot. They've taught me a lot. And yeah, they're really special. And then all of my curly cues that I get from, carving my necks or carving my tops, I save for my mom, and then she sprinkles them in her garden. So nothing goes to waste. And she's got her gardens just full of this cute little curly cues. There's one part of me that wants people to see me in my instruments. There's another part of me that doesn't want anybody to know that I exist. I had one standing block, I have one standing block. Roundy? Oh no, I'm gonna look crazy. But let's get Roundy out. Let me just show you Roundy. And so this is Roundy. Roundy has an uncanny ability of disappearing because he rolls away all the time. But I've had Roundy for probably 10 years. And one time I went to a guitar show in Montreal and I brought Roundy. I was like, Roundy deserves to be here just as much as I do. Like, Roundy did a lot more work than I did. So Roundy came to Montreal, you know, and sometimes it's like, yeah, it's like sometimes Roundy's having a good day, sometimes Roundy's having a bad day. It's like me, just like all of us. So, I mean, I'm just observing. I don't make this stuff up. I swear, this is, oh my gosh. Maybe it's also because I'm here alone a lot. And I'm like, I don't know. I've worked really, really hard for a long time to learn how to make great instruments. I will work on that for the rest of my life. That's not something that I'm gonna achieve at 35 or for, you know, maybe when I'm 70, I will have something figured out. But this is a lifelong journey.
When I was in my middle 20s, I would be introduced in a social situation like a party. And people say, oh, meet Bruce Sexauer, he's a luthier. And I would say, this is so embarrassing, well, actually, I'm a musician. I would say that. And I would embarrass myself every time because but I was compelled to say it because that's what I wanted to be. Eventually, I gave up because the world identified me as Bruce Sexauer luthier and gave me money to be it. I think that there are 23 guitars in this room. Is that enough? And there are 5 out in shops. So I own 28 of my own guitars right now. That's a little scary when I think about it.
You're a collector.
I am a collector, and I only collect one maker. I used to worry about owning too many of my guitars, but I don't have any of the guitars I owned 5 years ago, so it can't be that bad. What happened to them? People beat down my door to buy them. All woods have a unique tonal signature. The truth is, it's very, very subtle. They all sound like guitars. You almost have to compare them directly or be an expert, have played a lot of guitars to be able to hear it or identify it. The most tragic story in modern guitar making history is probably Madagascar Rosewood, where the island of Madagascar has been 90% shaved. Personally, I'm not comfortable buying a new Madagascar Rosewood, nor, frankly, if I didn't know the provenance of it, would I buy a new Brazilian Rosewood or Pernambuco. I just won't. Guitar making requires a finesse and very little strength from one end to the other, except this one part. And there are ways to do this without having to use your muscles, but if I did this process all the time, if this is all it was, by God, would I be built. This guitar, by the way, now that we have all the binding on, it's very resonant, makes a great drum. At this point, when I can tap on a guitar like this, I know a whole lot about how good the guitar is going to be, and I declare this guitar a winner at this point. Though, when we put the strings on, that's when we really know. This is called a blind dovetail mortise, and it's a mechanical joint. It will hold the guitar. This has not been fit yet, which is to say that the line here that you can probably see will disappear. This will appear to be a perfect joint. I feel like I'm flying an airplane when I do this. In the ocean, going to land on an aircraft carrier, and the aircraft carrier is moving and the airplane has to land just so. Once you hit the deck, you got to be right, and that's just what happens here. Once I'm done carving, it should be perfect, and if, of course, I carve too much away, in flamenco dance, and I like to say when they're dancing and they go boom, man, you feel that sparking energy. That's the manifestation of duende, which is the spirit of the dance, and it can be viewed as a fairy or a metaphysical force. The Spanish luthiers believe that the guitar can be built as a habitat for the spirit of duende. It's where duende lives. I can tell you that if you call yourself a master in this industry, people will walk away from you, because that's not something we get to decide. And the fact that I have spent my life pursuing mastery as a luthier, and you can say that, oh yes, I'm pursuing mastery as a luthier, that's my game. That's not embarrassing. If I'm not arriving yet, I better step it up.
We are at Luthiers Mercantile International. I've been working here for the past 2.5 years, and we supply everything that a guitar builder needs to build a guitar. Luthiers Mercantile takes a lot of pride in the fact that they make sure all of their materials are ethically sourced and harvested. Sometimes you just come in the morning and there's just a couple of pallets of wood. Here we have some Indian laurel, we have some Indian rosewood, backs and side sets. The fact that my part-time job is directly related to what I have been studying for the last 14 years kind of blows my mind. I mean, because I was working at a coffee shop for 4 years before this, and I kind of always thought that I was gonna have to do something like that on the side in order to keep my bills paid and, feed the wood fund. Every morning when I'm here, by 7:05 or so, I'm firing off this dust collection, and I'm so thankful, and it makes me feel like the luckiest girl in the whole world. Very, very thankful. At the end of the day, when you pull out a bucket of dust and you see everything you've accomplished that day, it is just, it's a wonderful feeling. It really makes you feel like you've really done a lot that day. It's very special. There we go, look at all that dust. It's a thing of beauty. And depending on the different woods you sanded that day, there's all these different layers of dust that are different colors, and it's just so naturally beautiful, and you can just see, it's almost like a timeline of what we did that day, and it's naturally just very beautiful and very rewarding. So it's an honor.
California is a wealth of wool and natural fiber production. With such a bounty of material to create yarn, textiles, and clothing products, where does this fit in with the global fashion industry? In this story, we visit a sheep farmer raising sustainable wool to make fiber products, and a fashion designer creating biodegradable and zero-waste clothing. We explore the benefits of circular or soil-to-soil clothing production, and how these makers embody this model in their craft.
Well, it's irreplaceable in terms of people putting their hands into a material and turning that into something. It really almost feels like a priceless and not replicable process, which it truly is. If I was looking back on us 200 years in the future, looking back, I'd be like, don't forget how to make things. You're gonna need that. In a fiber shed, people who grow fiber and natural dye, they often, in our current global textile system, are disaggregated, sometimes by whole countries and thousands of miles from the people who make something with what they grow. So our vision for the future to regionalize a fiber shed is to help people build relationships within a strategic geography so that you're growing the dyes and the fiber. You're also able to metabolize those materials into something useful, and then the wearer gets to wear something that's actually from a region that's been metabolized by people who might just be in the community as well. And so we're connecting the soil to skin supply chain within a strategic geography. I started FiberShed to connect my own wearing habits to the biological context where my clothes were grown. So regionalizing my whole wardrobe meant building relationships with farmers and ranchers, makers, manufacturers. And in doing that, those relationships were built and people started to engage with each other in ways that they hadn't before. And so it became evident that there was a need to create some supportive structure.
You know, it's beautiful to look at the natural dyes from this region and to see them applied to cloth that's 100% grown in California with carbon sequestration practices, what we call climate beneficial verified, that's milled in California. So it's a really key role in demonstrating what this work looks like.
I'm Leslie Adkins, and I'm the spinning shepherd at Heartfelt Fiber Farm. I raise the sheep, and I work with their wool, and I work on our carbon farm plan on the landscape and the pastures, and I make beautiful things from the wool and sell it to the community. When we started this farm, my goal was to see if I could create a farm where we would be able to make anything that can be made out of wool from a small operation, and it had to be eco-friendly and climate beneficial. And in 2013, we had the opportunity to bring the very first of the tiny, tiny, super rare Wesson sheep to California. So in addition to all of the other things going on here, we are trying to help keep the genes growing in this rare breed, which has fewer than 100 sheep of this type in all of North America. And it's a sheep that's has ancient, valuable DNA from the first human migration to an island off of France, long before the Vikings. The only way I can raise sheep is to raise them in a way where I honor their lives, not just for their wool, but because I honor their lives. And they know that. We raise them, they live out their lives. This guy is 10 years old. I was there when he was born 10 years ago. Because they get to live here for a long time, they develop deeper and deeper relationships with the people as well as with each other over time. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Jojo, sheepy, sheepy, sheepies. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. This is like a medieval torture. I never let people play with it because it's really could be dangerous. This is an ancient, old invention, very manual, but it really works. It separates the fleece. I'm going to feed some in onto these deathly spikes, and then it's just the spikes go together and separate it. So now that we've picked Duke's raw, beautiful, low lanolin, fine fleece, we will feed it into our Cadillac of drum carders. And the purpose of the carder is to kind of comb and organize all of these disparate fibers into one to get ready for either spinning or felting. Wool is magic. As far as I'm concerned, wool gets more magic the more I learn about it. And it's a wonderful, sustainable fiber that can be eventually composted in the soil. And with a local presence, it's also an opportunity to provide a model and lead the way for others and educate others in how this can be done. I think it's a very primal something in our DNA in humans, creating, nurturing life, and making things with your hands from this beautiful live material. It's as satisfying as any work I've ever done in my life. I get satisfaction every day.
If we're going to regionalize our food systems, fiber systems, the idea is that our landscapes have been heavily depleted. So we have a big job to do to ensure that these landscapes that are commonly called working landscapes, landscapes that provide basic provisions for human life, that these landscapes become net sinks for carbon, meaning they can, if managed well, become places where we take more atmospheric carbon out of where it is concentrated, move it into the soil through simple management techniques. And those techniques also can allow us to produce the fiber, the natural dyes, and the food. So the lands need to be healed, restored, so they can be productive, but also in their own right, they need to be healed and restored for ecological function. Once our soils are restored, they produce all these things that come into this framework we call soil-to-soil textiles that come from restored soils, are textiles that can return to those soils because they're biodegradable.
My name is Italia Hanaway, and I'm a sustainable fashion designer. I primarily work with plant-based textiles and biodegradable regenerative textiles as well. As a designer, I feel like I need to make a difference by producing and creating clothing that has value and makes more of a global impact with the clothes, rather than it just being a design that has no meaning. This is my zero waste lounge suit, and it's made of climate beneficial wool. This one is made of hemp and organic cotton. You know, they're all biodegradable basically because they're fully compostable. The concept of the design is zero waste. So I'm eliminating the waste from these beautiful fabrics that are grown from, the soil. You want to make sure to preserve that. So I think that having that base foundation of a zero waste pattern is very important. I would go directly to the top part of the linen right here. so there wouldn't be any waste. There's a lot of people in Northern California that I've been able to partner with that have really shown me, what is climate positive and what is the meaning behind a regenerative textile. And, one of the first partners that I was able to collaborate with was Fibershed. And so I think that that was a real strong foundation to my designs, to learn from them. So there would be the one pant leg. It's more special if you have, a fabric where you know where it came from, you know how it was treated. Working with the climate beneficial wool, for instance, is so luxurious. And so when I'm sewing it, I feel it smells good. Just everything about it is just really earthy and just like, I love it. Being a designer, it's creating something from scratch, from nothing, from, a piece of paper or maybe just a piece of fabric, and having that idea and going to make it into your vision.
The value of making is that it's a language in a lot of ways for creativity and for connection and for understanding. It's a way of creating beauty in the world and evolving our systems and really innovating. And I really hope that never goes away. I hope more people find, the maker within themselves, because I do think it's also a very human thing to make make and be in touch with the making process of our essential needs. And I think even if there is a lot of automation and mechanization that occurs in textiles and in the systems that provide for us, hopefully that's because it's improving human rights conditions for certain goods and mass production, but that there's still that element of tactility and care. And I think making has so much to offer us to build that relationship and then to create that sense of relationship to where our materials come from.
Natural materials used for crafting have become a solution to curtail the environmental consequences of plastics and other synthetics. Makers who use traditional methods work in tandem with the environment and help keep the Bay Area bountiful.